Welcome from Sananda. You inquire about your planet, the planet that is currently your home. What's its purpose? What, in the philosophical sense, might we describe as its direction of travel? And with that question, another question, very appropriate: how might we speak of such things? For you will readily appreciate that to describe in words the purpose of the planet it's a reach, it's a stretch. It's not difficult to appreciate that the purpose of a planet may be, in some sense anyway, considerably larger than the purpose of an individual human being. And if you look at describing your own purpose, you may well be tested to find words that adequately describe it to yourself or to others. So from the get-go, recognize that as an issue that we together are dealing with. And be aware also, as part of that question of how we might describe so large a thing as the planet's purpose, that some of what I may say may contradict, at least apparently, some other things that I say about the planet's purpose. And indeed there may be actual, real contradictions. Here draw upon your understanding of quantum physics, the minutiae of how the matter that makes up your physical world behaves, where your physicists are teaching you that there can indeed be apparently irreconcilable contradictions in how matter at a minute, a subatomic scale operates. So bearing all of that in mind, let us voyage on with the planet. Of course, one of the ways of accessing an understanding of the purpose of the planet, this planet, is to look at yourself. You as an individual consciousness have drawn to you, you've magnetized to you, however that happens, and you don't need to know how it happens, but you're aware of it having happened. You have magnetized to you some of the substance of the Earth's body. Earth to earth is true of you as a physical being. And so you literally embody something of the planet. And with that embodying of something of the planet, you're embodying something of the Earth's purpose. And so that to answer the question about the purpose of the planet, from some perspectives, you need only look within at your own purpose. But of course, you readily appreciate that your purpose is but one purpose, that you can recognize in each other as humans, and more broadly when you encounter all forms of life on Earth, the multiplicity of ways in which life can express itself on Earth, that you're likely to find or feel that there are many purposes that here too are not necessarily aligned with each other and may even be directly contradictory. After all, you yourself and most of the forms of life that you're aware of around you feed themselves upon other forms of life. So in that sense, you can see a planet that is eating itself. There's a kind of contradiction. At least it seems like that. If we step back from that way of looking at purpose in relationship to the planet, as we might investigate it in you, we'll come back to that, but let's step back and say that what we can say of the planet's purpose, as we can say of your purpose, and of all forms of life of which you are aware, there is an evolutionary purpose. That is to say, you are life seeking to become more alive. And that, as far as you can tell, will hold good for all forms of life on the planet of which you are aware. The means by which that is accomplished is very varied, not least in the time scale, so that you can look at life forms that have existed, as far as you know, virtually unchanged for many millions of years. And then you can look at your own life form, the human life form, and recognize that this has evolved even in a few hundred years. You look back at the jaw structure of your ancestors just a few hundred years ago and find that there's been a change, because your diet has changed collectively, overall. And so a tendency for that structure, that particular structure, that you use to consume whatever life form is nourishing you, that has evolved. And if we lose a larger scale of time, you can see that humans, as you understand it currently, have evolved quite a lot over a few 100,000 years. So even if we're looking only at speed of change, there is huge variety. Nevertheless, we would suggest that overall all of you have chosen at some level of consciousness to invest energy in sharing this journey of the earth, that all of you have in mind, shall we say, that you grow, that you evolve, that you are evolving rather than devolving to a lower state of consciousness. You know very well from your personal experience that this is not a straightforward process. It's not quite like climbing a ladder or climbing a staircase, step by step by step. You're familiar with the way in which one day you can feel as if you're growing beautifully, and another day you can feel as if actually you're not growing at all but retreating in some way. So you understand that even if we apply this notion of a general purpose of growing to a greater aliveness to the planet's purpose, that that's not necessarily a straightforward process. Compared to you as an individual human being, the Earth's lifespan is a long one. You calculate it to have been around for billions of years. And your sense, as far as you understand it currently, is that whilst the planet is dependent upon the lifespan of the sun, that the sun's lifespan is likely to continue for several billion years yet. So there is, in a way, a leisurely progress that the Earth makes on its journey through time and space. It's given itself scope to create some very interesting experiences, or co-create interesting experiences. For co-creation is a truer way of understanding it. You are part of that co-creation. The Earth has enlisted your support. You have enlisted the support of the Earth. You're having an adventure together. As an individual being, your experience is that you have a history. Even if you're looking solely at the context of this current lifetime, you find a history, you have a sense of your own past. That you have a general passage of growth from newborn baby to, if you're fortunate, a long life into old age. And your experience is that those characteristic stages are indeed characteristic, that they have their own shape, their own way of being, their own type of experience. The movement from childhood into adolescence, for example, is widely shared. It may not be true for every single human being, and certainly at the individual level, your experience of adolescence and the movement into adolescence may be quite different from your next-door neighbour's. But there are these shared characteristics. There is a way of growing that happens on Earth that is not necessarily true for other planets. It may be widespread, but it's not ubiquitous. So you can begin to identify, as you examine life on earth, as you know it, both in terms of your outward experience and your inner sense of it, that there are characteristic patterns about how the earth behaves that tell you something about its function and purpose. At this point, it's useful to say something about your relationship as being or consciousness with the consciousness of the earth. This, of course, is complex. At one level, if you regard yourself solely as consciousness, then what you can discover is that if you withdraw your consciousness, and you can, from this universe, never mind this planet, but from this universe, the universe will cease to exist. So in that sense, the universe and the planet within the universe is solely a product of your consciousness. Now, I'm being a little tendentious there by saying that it is solely the product of your consciousness. It's perhaps useful to expand that a little and to say that your experience of this universe is solely dependent upon your consciousness. So in that way, yes, you've invented this planet. But then you might equally argue that the planet has invented you, that the planet has summoned a portion of the consciousness that makes up all that is, and clad that portion of consciousness in energy that is behaving the particular forms and ways that you experience as physicality, and let you play, let you discover, so that in that way you are no more than a figment of the imagination of the earth. You have both created each other. So let us move now within that process of co-creation. We come back to the possibility of you being able to read the purpose of the earth by looking at your own purpose. I've stated that there's a fundamental tendency towards growing, to becoming more alive. You and the planet both engaged in that. But what actually constitutes becoming more alive for this planet and for you? In this epoch, in this era, this eon, we might say, then love is fundamental. Something might be different. Some other fundamental purpose may be being served in another epoch of the Earth's life. But in this epoch in which you've arrived, so by epoch I mean many thousands of years before you and many, many thousands of years to come, we would say that the fundamental purpose, the mode of growing, the reason behind the growing, is to find ways of expressing the love of the source of all, your own source of being, the source of the earth's being, to come to a fuller expression. A fuller expression both in terms of experiencing it inwardly as a living being, but also in sharing that, in exchanging with it with others, building with it, coming to know more of what the essence of love is. More than that, letting love flow through you, letting love become more than it was. An enlargement then of love. Now, there's an inherent contradiction or challenge in this point of view, this understanding. It's not an absolute contradiction, but it throws up issues for you as a living being. We might say that the absolute experience of love is a state of total oneness with all life. And at least in your imagination, and to a considerable extent this may also be your direct sense of how it is, you can feel that you have come from that state, that you've known a state of totality, of oneness, of complete unity with all, in which there is therefore a total state of love, or a state of love beyond which your imagination cannot take you. And yet here, You have elected to experience separation, both in the sense of incarnating in separate bodies from one another, but even more than that, in having an appreciation of yourself as an individual being, whether you're physical in form or not. That it's not difficult for you to sense, or indeed to remember, being in other states of consciousness outside of this physical body, where there is still a feeling of being an individual being. So that here we come to one of the fundamental mysteries, or ways of talking about or exploring the nature of the universe at large, that you find what is sometimes called the in-breath and the out-breath of the universe, that the out-breath is a movement from oneness into multiplicity, and the in-breath is a movement from multiplicity back into oneness. But just as you change with every breath you take, so this is not an endless, pointless cycle. It has direction. Just as the Earth orbits the Sun again and again and again, year after year, but at the same time, the whole solar system is moving through space. Your galaxy revolves, and the galaxy moves in relationship to other galaxies. The entire universe is moving in relationship to all that forms the universe. Everything is in motion in relationship to everything else. So if we come back to the in-breath and the out-breath of the universe, that in-breath that you are beginning to experience, a sense of being drawn back in some way to the oneness. And this can be happening simultaneously at many different levels. Your soul is moving back towards a oneness. There is a greater integration between you and your soul. The earth is opening up connections between different dimensions of its own expression. And these are converging and moving towards a oneness. There are other ways in which oneness is occurring. But as part of that movement, you have hitched a ride with the earth for particular reasons. There are general reasons, but there are particular reasons as well. So each of you will find particular reasons that fit into the general picture I'm about to present. If we look at that movement through space of which we speak, space is not empty, as well as a certain amount of matter even in the vacuum of space. And far more significantly, space carries the vibrations of what you experience as the past. This universe is older than the planet. You as beings have at least connections, even if you feel that you are quite a new being, into the deep past of this universe, perhaps even beyond. The experiences of the universe, the vibrations, the akasha of the universe are written into the fabric of the earth and into the fabric of your human beingness, your presence on earth as a human being. Because the planet moves through space, it tunes into particular strata of the deep history of the universe. And for a while, this planet has been moving through the strata, the echoes of deep, difficult, traumatic, divisive events that you may or may not, at a personal level, have played a part in. But you've elected to adopt those vibrations, to hold them within your energy field, to allow them to be present within the very atoms that make up your physical body and the world upon which you rely. The earth is working with those akashic echoes of a deep past, learning how to make peace with them, and you assisting in that process. The very divisions that you may experience between yourself and others, between yourselves as humans and other forms of life on earth, between your dimension of existence on the earth and other dimensions of existence on the earth, these very differences are part of this healing. As you learn to make peace between different vibrational patterns within yourself, different memories, different patterns of behavior, different modes of understanding what you are and what the earth is, as you learn to make peace with these, you are playing a vital part in assisting the earth in its path of evolution. That path, as well as including that which can be spoken of, includes much that cannot at this time be spoken of. Not fundamentally because it is secret or hidden from you, but because the language is not available for the human mind to be able to access that deep understanding in anything other than states of profound inner meditation, profound inwardness. That is changing. It will change more. Part of what is happening in this lifetime is that the earth offers not one reality, what you know as the earth plane, your three-dimensional reality, time, space, matter. It has other dimensions, other ways of expressing itself. And these for a while have been kept somewhat separate from each other. Now you're finding that the distinction between those different modes of the earth's expression is blurring and dissolving. In a while, there's no particular time frame to be applied here. It takes as long as it takes, as they say. But in a while, you will find that you are free to experience other kinds of beings sharing the same planet with you, experiencing the planet differently. But you will open up to experience the planet differently too. You'll come to know both through the outward experience of what the earth offers you and through your inward experience of the kind of being that you are, that there is a great richness of experience that the earth offers that you've previously denied yourself. Denied yourself not out of punishment, though it may seem like that, but because it is part of this grander scheme, if we call it that, whereby the earth, in its journey through space and time, through the dimensions that are available to it, has encountered those frequency patterns I've spoken of past trauma. And you voluntarily, for reasons that each one of you will have elected to carry some of those vibrations, so that through that process of transformation I spoke of a few moments ago, you can be a participant in the merging of dimensions. So there is an inward healing for you as a profound part of this path of growing. Understand from that too that the earth is on a healing journey at this stage of its lifespan. It is engaged in healing too. The earth as a being, as a consciousness, has its own history. And there is a healing happening in this era, and not just this era, but other eras too, that frees the earth to express more of its inward beauty. To put it simply, we could describe it as a kind of karmic balancing. So you find yourselves engaged in a karmic balancing, making peace with your own past, your own understanding of who and what you are, that aligns beautifully with the earth going through its own version of that kind of process. Karma may not be exactly the right term to describe that, so treat it as a loose term here. The earth, of course, as you appreciate, does not exist in isolation. That's obvious. After all, it travels around the sun with other planets too. And they have their own kind of consciousness, their own forms of life indeed, as does the sun. So there is that kind of process and purpose being fulfilled as well. The Earth is helping the sun to fulfill its purpose. It's helping the other planets to evolve in their own way. There is a mutuality always in this journey that is being made. If you look far into the future as you understand it, you will find that there is a general movement that all planets and solar systems and star systems, all that constitutes the galaxy, is engaged in. And that process leads to what is sometimes called ascension. That is to say, ultimately, though there is a beyond to this ultimately, but in your terms, the galaxy as you understand it is a physical collation of energy holding specific forms that you experience as matter, that there is an ascension to a freer expression of energy, that the light within matter is released. And so this is the kind of experience that you can sometimes witness out there in the universe, where there can be huge expressions happening in a very short space of time, explosions of light. That can be the indication, at least in some instances, that a stellar system, or indeed a whole galaxy, has shifted from a predominantly physical expression, or a physical expression as an important part of how it experiences itself, into an experience of being more purely an expression of light. There's still modality at work, there's still particular expressions, but they're no longer locked within the confines of physicality. Physicality itself, as an expression of being, is characteristic of a fairly early stage of a universe. And so that you may also understand that part of the Earth's purpose is to participate in this movement from physicality to, in your terms, non-physicality, or a finer form of energy. And that in turn is in a preparation for the birthing of further universes. Universes beget universes. And you're in what can be loosely regarded as an endless process. But we've also spoken of the way in which the behavior of the universe, over whatever timescale might be involved, can be considered as an out-breath and an in-breath. That a universe coming into being, the bubble coming into being that is a universe, is no more than the out-breath of Source, expressed through consciousness that is evolved to the level where it is able to perform that function, that role of generating a universe. So you can consider that the Earth's purpose in relationship to you is that it is training you. It is training you to understand that you are the creators of your own reality. That you are, in a sense, gods in the making, divine beings. In that, when you reach a certain degree of alignment with the source of all, then you find that it is the nature of that alignment that you come to know your capacity to create worlds for others. The Earth, then, has as its purpose to bring you to a state of love whereby you allow yourself to know that you are wholly aligned with the source of all, and that in that alignment you discover that you are a creator of universes yourself. That could be understood as the Earth's purpose. But remember what I said at the beginning. There are many ways of understanding the Earth's purpose, and some of those ways can contradict each other, because you live in a multiple universe. It offers so many different ways of understanding what it is, and you're just at the beginning of an exploration of all that the potential of all life is. In that sense, all that I've said is untrue. For you are creating yourself in this moment. You are discovering in this moment, and there can be no other moment in which you make this discovery, who and what you are, who and what the universe is, who and what the earth is. You are already the creator that I've spoken of you becoming. Thank you for listening. Goodbye for now.